Welcome to Photomikes Garage. Okay, today we're going to start working on Barney. You might notice that Barney is up on ramps right there. And the reason for that is that we're going to work on the exhaust. I've got Barney up on these two car ramps. It worked just fine. Of course, this car is a stock ride height, so you can actually still use these type of car ramps. On lowered cars, they don't work so good. But we're going to work on the exhaust. We are installing exhaust valve emulators from activeexhaustsolutions.com. So basically what this is you have two valves that are in your exhaust pipes. I'll show you them a little bit later. But these valves control the sound of the exhaust to help Dodge meet the EPA requirements for noise in various states. So at certain times they want to keep the car quiet, so the valves close, restricting the exhaust slightly. But when you're in track mode or when you're going really fast, the exhaust valves open. But what if you had the exhaust valves open all the time? What would that sound like? That might sound really good, right? So exhaust valve emulators, like from Active Exhaust Solutions, they keep the valves open all the time and fool the computer into thinking that everything is closing when they want or opening when they want. And this is what you get when you order from Active Exhaust Solutions. You get this green bag, you get another green bag, and you get a clear bag full of very unknown and unintelligible type of things. I have no idea what they are. But I will be installing these today on Barney. Okay, so here's our exhaust system, the beautiful exhaust system of the Hellcat, which is pretty awesome. Okay, so these are your exhaust valves right here. Inside here you have a little a valve of metal, a flap of metal that either opens or restricts the exhaust flow. Now when it restricts the exhaust flow, it quiets the car to allow it to pass various regulations around the country. And then when you have it going full bore or you're in track mode, the valve opens, causing very little restriction to the exhaust. This modification I'm going to do today is going to allow the exhaust valve to stay open at all times. All right. Okay, you get these two strangely shaped objects, which has a little lever that goes from one stop to another stop. You get a lot of nice little bolts. You get 6 of these. You get these strange looking little red things. You get a lot of washers. You get some lock nuts right here. You get some clamps right here. It's all very exciting. I don't even know what this stuff does, but let's check it out. Okay, so a lot of people say that, well, just unplug this and the exhaust valve will stay open, and that takes care of your problem. But the problem with that, and with also just unbolting it and letting it hang, is that the computer knows what you're doing. Sort of like your mother-in-law. You got to fool your mother-in-law, and it's not always easy, as some of you guys probably already know that. So the thing is that the computer knows that you have disconnected it and sends a trouble code, and then you got an engine light in your dash, and you don't want that. And also, if you let this hang, the motor in it will just keep moving. Well, will meet no resistance because it's no longer attached to the valve, of course. And that will also send a trouble code to the engine computer and a check engine light in your dash as well. And you don't want that. So the whole point of the Active Exhaust Solutions is to fool your computer. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so our first step is to disconnect the electrical wire. These bolts are all 8mm. They're not on too tight. As you can see, I'm already getting this off. Now another thing too, according to what I've heard, there's spring tension in here. There's a spring here. So as you loosen this is going to want to push away because there's a spring in here. So you don't want that spring to just go flying out. So as you loosen these, you keep some pressure on the motor itself to keep the spring from flying out, and you remove it carefully after all the bolts, all the nuts are off. So as we carefully take this off, all the tension from the spring is removed. We just work this out, and there we go. Okay, So there you can see, there's the orientation of the spring inside. It does come off, as you can see. It does come off. And here's the valve inside. This is its position right now. And it moves back and forth. You can actually hear the valve closing. Closing, open, closing, open, closing, open. Okay. Okay, so we've taken one of the motors over to my bench, and as you can see, this is how it is oriented in the car. This is up, this is down, this is the way the spring looks when it's in the car. The little bump on the spring is facing up towards the motor here. So that's the position you want this in. There we go. And this is our exhaust simulator. Sorry, exhaust valve emulator. And this is gonna go right on top of this like so. It's got two little notches here, and that's gonna fit into the spaces right here. And then we're gonna connect the whole thing with these bolts here, and then that will be our finished package. Okay, so here's your exhaust emulator. And this will fit in just like this. So basically, you can see, there we are. So you can see how the holes match. So you got this one here, you got that one there, you got this one here, that one there, and it's gonna go right in. Okay, so that fit into the notches. You can see it's moving. That's fit into the notches. And then I'm going to line it up and see where it's lined up. Okay, so first of all, we line up the holes here. And this one goes through first. Nylon spacer. Metal washer. And then 1-inch aluminum spacer that takes you all the way to the hole, through the hole, and then through the hole, and then get your nylon nut, your metal nut, your lock nut here, get that going. And then let's do the next one. Bolt goes through. Nylon spacer, aluminum washer, 1-inch long aluminum spacer, and then through the hole, and you can get your nylon nut started. Now through this process, the motor may come out of the spring area. But as you can see, mine is still operational. This is how it sort of looked. Now we're going to tighten these nuts up. Okay, it's all tightened up. I have to use a flathead or Phillips head to hold the screws in place while you tighten with a deep 3/8-inch socket. You tighten these all evenly, all three of these, put a little bit of pressure into it, and this is the result. As you can see, you got to make sure that the wire is engaged in the cup. That's important. As you tighten it, make sure that it is engaged in the cup. As you can see, this one is, and this is the final product. This is the orientation. Motor's on top, and levers going straight up, and this is ready to be put back in the car, and it will emulate the opening and closing of the valve, giving the proper resistance. As this moves from this stop to this stop, it will fool your computer into thinking that it's actually opening and closing the valve, when in fact it's completely useless and doing nothing. Now remember, the top notch here, the one facing towards the upper body of the car, should be in the 2 o'clock position. That's the open position. That's the resting position that the car is normally in. And if it's over here at the 11 o'clock position, this notch, then that means it's closed. So we want to keep this in the open position. So have it facing at 2 o'clock towards the upper part of the car. So we're gonna reconnect the connector, and once we do so, this is gonna cycle, it's gonna make a beeping noise. We'll just wait for that to happen, then we can just attach it with the zap straps. Okay, so we have the emulator in place, secured by the zap straps to the emergency brake cable here, which is no problem. And now we have to lock in the valve into the open position, and for that we're going to use, where is it? Oh, we're going to use this little red guy here. It's going to go around the bottom stud here. Oops, sorry. Going to go around the bottom stud, and once you put on the nut, it will lock this into position. It's sort of going to look like that. Make sure this is at the 2 o'clock position, and that will be locked into position. Now we're going to use one of the nuts that we took off earlier when we were removing this to secure this. We have the locking wire in place, locking the valve in the open position. So now exhaust is going to flow through, and we're going to have tremendous noise. We've got the emulator tied up there. This side is done. Time to do the other side is exactly the same as the driver's side, and then I'll be done. This one's done. This one's done. Emulator secured with zap straps. Wires out of the way with the zap strap from the axle. Everything's done. Okay, the job is done. Let's hear what it sounds like. Now the exhaust valves are open when you first start your car, so that's why everyone loves a cold start anyway. So the real sound difference will be once the car's warmed up and when you're driving it in normal modes. That's when it's going to be louder with this mod. Boy, does that sound great. I'm really glad I did this mod. It's definitely worth it. So thanks for watching Photomikes Garage. I will see you later. Okay, hold on. That's not the end of the video yet. I just said quickly that I recommend this solution as a way to make an improvement, but I didn't go into any detail. I mean, the thing is that the reality is that there's only a small difference. I would say that this mod does not do as much for changing the sound of your exhaust as much as a mid-muffler delete. So if you want something louder, quite a bit louder, at all times, you would get a mid-muffler delete. Adding this mod will increase the sound, but not to the same level as the mid-muffler delete. So I just wanted to make that clear that I still think this is definitely a great mod to have. I definitely recommend it, but keep in mind that it will not be as loud as a mid-muffler delete. So thanks for watching Photomikes Garage. I will see you next time.